There are many stories about the big bad wolf. Many tales of his sly schemes, of his dastardly deeds, and his preposterous plots. They are told all around the world, in every culture, in every language, for centuries past. But I wonder if you've ever heard this one before. This story takes place at Christmas time, when the forest animals were busy decorating their homes and preparing for the festivities. Bright lights twinkled in the trees, and the forest hummed with joy. But the wolf's den, hidden away in the darkest part of the forest, was cold, empty, and quiet. No lights twinkled over his door. The wolf huddled alone in his den, staring out at the snowy woods. "I hate Christmas," he muttered. Everywhere the wolf went, he saw animals enjoying themselves. The squirrels had strung up shiny ribbons in the trees, and the rabbits were building snowmen in the meadow. The wolf huffed to himself. How ridiculous. On Christmas Eve, the wolf was prowling near the edge of the forest when something strange caught his eye. A flash of red and white hurtled through the sky. The wolf squinted. Surely not, he thought to himself with a sneer. His eyes tracked the red and white blur as it came careening down to the ground with a crash that echoed throughout the forest. A prickle of panic rose up in the wolf, but he squashed it back down and shrugged it off. He didn't care, he told himself. But he found that he couldn't quite bring himself to go home without having a quick check, so he started through the trees to investigate. The wolf's heart skipped a beat. He had heard stories about Santa Claus, but had never believed they could really be true. But there, just as surely as he stood there himself, was the sleigh, the reindeer, and the very real Santa Claus right there before him. He looked unharmed, and the sleigh seemed to be in good working order, so the wolf turned and started to head back to his den.
"Ho, ho, ho!"
Santa boomed heartily, to no one in particular.
"I seem to have had a little mishap. Not to worry, still plenty of time to deliver all the presents to the good little boys and girls."
What nonsense, thought the wolf, ignoring him. But as he walked away, he felt a tiny twinge of regret. It might have been nice to meet the real Santa, but the wolf knew for certain he was on the naughty list and felt sure that Santa wouldn't want to meet him. He trudged a few steps more, and just as he was almost out of earshot, he heard Santa once more.
"Oh no,"
Santa said, his voice laced with dread. The wolf stopped. He turned and saw Santa Claus looking in his magical sack, rummaging around in it, turning it upside down and shaking it. It was empty. The wolf was torn. Santa clearly needed help, but would he accept it from someone on the naughty list? Gathering his courage, the wolf stepped out from behind the tree and cleared his throat. Santa turned around, seemingly surprised to see the big bad wolf standing there. But then Santa's rosy face broke into a huge, warm smile.
"Well, well," Santa said. "What can I do for you?"
The wolf tried hard to look like his heart wasn't doing backflips, and he said calmly, "Well, you looked like you needed some help, and it doesn't look like there's anyone else around, so, I'm here." Santa sighed, his jolly expression dimming slightly.
"Yes, my sack of presents is empty. It was full when I left the North Pole, but now they're gone. Without those presents, I won't be able to deliver gifts to all the children and animals tonight."
The wolf shifted awkwardly. "Perhaps I could help you find them?" he offered. Santa's eyes twinkled. "You want to help?" "I know I haven't been very good in the past," the wolf admitted, "but maybe I'd like to try." Santa's warm smile returned.
"Well, Wolf, I'd be glad to have your help. Christmas is about kindness and giving after all."
The wolf nodded, a warm and fuzzy feeling creeping into his chest. "I think I know who might have taken your presents." Using his sharp nose, the wolf sniffed the air. There was a familiar scent of mischief in the wind, one he had smelled before. "Follow me," he said, leading Santa through the snow-covered forest. The two of them walked past tall pine trees and frozen streams until they reached a dark, twisted part of the woods. The wolf pointed to a large hollow log. "Trolls," They're always playing pranks. I bet they swiped your presents." Santa nodded thoughtfully.
"Ah, I've heard of them. Let's find out."
Quietly, Santa and the wolf approached the log. Peering inside, they saw a group of tiny, mischievous trolls huddled around a pile of presents. They were giggling as they played with the ribbons and bows. Santa stepped forward.
Ahem.
The trolls jumped, startled to see him, and indeed the big bad wolf. They looked at the presents, then back at Santa. One of them let out a tiny whimper.
"What are you doing with my gifts?" Santa asked, kindly but firmly.
The trolls looked at each other sheepishly. Santa sighed gently.
"I understand you wanted to join in the fun, but taking things that don't belong to you isn't the way to do it. Christmas is about giving and sharing, not just receiving."
The trolls looked down, squeaking ashamedly. Their leader scuffed his foot on the ground. The big bad wolf, who had been quietly watching, suddenly spoke up. "Why don't we make a deal?" he suggested. "You trolls can help bring the presents back to the sleigh. That way you'll be part of the Christmas magic, and it might make up for taking the gifts." The trolls perked up at the idea and chirped hopefully. "Great idea, Wolfie," Santa said with a wink. And so, as Santa, the wolf and the trolls loaded the presents back into Santa's sleigh, the wolf felt the warm spark in his heart spread to the tips of his fingers and right down to his toes. Maybe Christmas wasn't that bad after all. And maybe, just maybe, neither was he. Once the sleigh was loaded, Santa turned to the wolf. "Wolfie, how would you like to join me for the rest of the deliveries?" The wolf's eyes widened. "You mean, ride with you in the sleigh?" Santa chuckled.
"Of course. After all, you've shown me that you understand the true spirit of Christmas. Who better to help?"
With excitement, the wolf climbed into the sleigh beside Santa. The trolls jumped about and waved them off as Santa took the reins. With a jingle of bells, the sleigh roared into the sky, leaving the forest far below. Throughout the night, Santa and the wolf worked side by side, delivering gifts to all the good children and animals. By the time dawn arrived, they had delivered every single present. Santa guided the sleigh back to the clearing where they had first met. He smiled as he climbed down.
"Thank you, Wolfie," Santa said warmly. "I knew you wouldn't let me down."
The wolf was confused for a moment. "You knew? What do you mean, you knew?" Santa looked a little sheepish and said,
"Well, maybe it wasn't such a coincidence that I crashed in this particular part of the forest. It seemed to me that this Christmas, more than anything, you needed a friend."
The wolf looked at him in amazement. "Thank you," he said. Santa shook him warmly by the paw.
"I'd better get back to the North Pole," he said.
The wolf turned to head back to his den.
"One more thing," Santa said.
He reached into his sack and handed the wolf a small package.
"This is for you," Santa said, with a twinkle in his eye. "You're officially off the naughty list."
The wolf carefully unwrapped the gift. Inside was a soft, cosy scarf and a shiny bell that jingled softly when he shook it. "Merry Christmas, Santa," the wolf whispered, a tear in his eye. With a final jingle of bells, Santa's sleigh disappeared into the morning sky, leaving the wolf standing in the snow, filled with the joy of Christmas. The end. A Merry Christmas. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this magical story. If you want to come along on more of our adventures, make sure you subscribe to our channel. There's so much more to be discovered. You can start right now by clicking on our channel and picking your next favourite tale. There really is something for everyone, from daring heroes and mischievous creatures to magical lands and secret wonders. And remember, by subscribing, you'll be the first to know when a brand new story is ready to be enjoyed. Let's go.